All right, today in the Alex Murdaugh trial, two significant happenings. One was an advance, one a huge reversal. Defense attorney and host of Cup of Justice, Eric Bland, and the man who knows, attorney Mark Geragos. You like that intro, don't you? The man who knows. I thought you would. All right, now, first to you, Counselor Bland. So, this was going to be a day where you were going to have people say, oh, boy, the defense did some job on that lead prosecutor, but they did too good a job. And they started talking about drug habits in a way that made the judge think, hey, you know, if you're going to open a door to this kind of character discussion and be this broad, let me change my ruling on whether or not what is called the roadside shooting, where Alex Murdaugh says he got his cousin to try to kill him so that his kid could have insurance, but the guy missed. Just one part of the zany part of this story. What do you believe, Eric Bland, the impact is of the reversal that evidence can come in? Why does it matter?
Sure. First, I want to say welcome back, and we're glad you got back safely.
Thank you.
Pretty courageous what you did.
Thank you.
I think you're going to be surprised. Mark and I are going to agree on this. This was by design. One thing you can't say about Dick Harpootlian is that he's not a smart man. I think that they intentionally set this Trojan horse out there for the judge to reverse himself so that they could goad the prosecution into calling Cousin Eddie. They will make Cousin Eddie into a 5-course meal if he's on the witness stand. So don't think that this was a mistake that was made by the defense. Also, don't think that the defense has changed tactics. In the first part of the case, they blamed the state for only singling out Alex Murdaugh and no other possible suspects. Today, they blame the state for not searching Almeida, the parents' house, immediately, and some other things. This is classic Harpootlian, Mark knows this, creating a lot of obfuscation and confusion for this jury right at about the time that they're going to start hearing from the defense. And remember, for the prosecution to win, they got to be winning like 10-4 right now. If they go into the defense case and it's a tie ball game, it's over. Harpootlian's going to reshape this jury and reshape their minds over the next week. And I don't see a conviction coming. I see a hung jury at best.
Well, remember, defense just needs one. And Mark Geragos, It seemed like they were going down that road just by talking about this cowboy gang, which, you know, I'm sure you were familiar with, but I had never heard of. How plausible is it that because your drug dealer owes a lot of money to a drug gang, maybe they would kill your wife and son?
Well, they just happened in California. The cartel just executed people here within the last 2 weeks. And I will tell you, it may be one of the few times Eric and I agree, but clearly the defense got what they wanted here. Because I'll tell you strategically why. By now having goading, as Eric says, and I would say basically baiting the prosecution into calling him, he will be as a direct examination by the prosecution, which means Dick or one of his compatriots is going to then get to cross lead, and that's when they're going to destroy this guy. And remember, this guy very well could be one of the people they point the finger at, and now they're going to have the prosecution delivering him right in front of them. I'll tell you, be careful what you wish for when you're the prosecution. It would not surprise me if tonight they rethink calling him, because I think some people are going to tell him this is not a good thing for us.
Eric Bland says they won't call him. He'll know because he'll be in the courtroom. All right, now to something that did happen for sure, which is, for whatever reason, Alex Murdaugh kept giving conversation to police that night and thereafter about what he said happened. Very rare for an attorney to want to do that, assuming he was in his right mind. So here is some of what came out today that could be instructive of an inconsistent statement. Let's play.
Do you know who did?
No, I do not know who did it.
Did you kill Paul?
No, I did not kill Paul.
Do you know who did?
No, sir, I do not know who did. You think I killed Paul?
I have to go where the evidence and the facts take me, and I don't have anything that points to anybody else at this time.
So does that mean that I am a suspect?
You were still in, like I told Corey earlier, you were still in this.
Well, that's what I would have been saying. So who cares, Eric Bland? Why does it matter?
Well, I think what it matters is Mark and I can put aside our differences on whether he's guilty or not. But I do want Mark or anybody to answer for me why an innocent man would have told so many material lies on the night of the murder and then continued to tell them to the police every time he sat down, those demonstrative statements about not being at the kennel or not seeing his wife and kid after dinner. Now, I know Mark's going to talk about, the jury charges or whatever, but they have proven, the state has at least proven that this man is a fundamental liar when it comes to what happened that night. And I don't understand why an innocent man would be telling those lies.
All right, so the piece of tape that
Let me
we
just
showed,
tell you,
Mark, is not instructive of that. It's just him saying, I didn't do it. You think I did it? That's not his problem. What could be?
Well, look, the only reason that this would ever matter is if he takes the stand. If he takes the stand, the jury charge that Eric is talking about, as I mentioned this earlier today, is the jurors will then get an instruction that says if you find somebody was materially false in one part of their testimony, you can disregard all of it. That's the only time it will really matter. Other than that, if he doesn't take the stand, Dick is going to get up and Dick is going to say he lied. They were accusing him of being the suspect. You think it was a lie. He was upset, and he's going to explain away. And after all, it doesn't matter because look at this jury instruction. Whether he told them this, that, or the other thing doesn't matter. It's whether they prove their case.